Welcome to Wellness Fixes the Pod, a by Maven media production, where we believe you deserve real education from real experts delivered in a way you can actually use. I'm Dr. Kelsy Vick, your board-certified orthopedic doctor of physical therapy, and this podcast was built for the girl who is done feeling overwhelmed and frustrated by conflicting health noise and is ready for something she can actually trust. Every week, we have honest, science-backed conversations about your health, your hormones, your brain, your body, and everything in between. No fluff, no fear-mongering, just the truth. Because understanding your body is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. A table full of experts built for the curious girl who wants the truth. So welcome. Your seat is waiting for you. A lot of girls want to look more toned on their wedding day. So we're going to chat the actual science-backed way to achieve that. We're not crash dieting. We're not crash exercising. We're not starving ourselves in order to create the body composition or changes that we want to see. The fast approach produces water loss, muscle loss, hormonal chaos, and a body that's fighting you by the time your wedding day arrives. Jump training is amazing both for now and in the future, and I call it bone building on steroids. Intensity is that key driver of fat loss, not volume, meaning a 20-minute high-intensity interval training session can have more positive benefits on fat loss compared to an hour of moderate cardio. Exercise is a stimulus, recovery is where the magic happens. Muscle is built, fat is mobilized, and adaptations are made when you rest. From 1,000 times yes to I do, let's chat science-backed wedding prep. Welcome back to Wellness Fixes the Pod. I'm your host, Dr. Kelsy Vick, a board-certified orthopedic doctor of physical therapy and a pelvic floor physical therapist. And wedding season is here. So whether you're the bride, a maid of honor, or just someone who wants a good excuse to dial in their health and wellness routine, this episode is for you. We're doing something a little bit different today in the wedding prep side of things and talking science-backed wedding prep with different experts. So today I am talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is body recomposition and exercise and movement. A lot of girls want to look more toned on their wedding day, which in my head makes me think a decrease in fat and an increase in muscle mass or a maintenance of muscle mass. So we're going to chat the actual science-backed way to achieve that. Given this bridal era, your engagement era is the perfect time to have a reason to dial in whatever that goal and that exercise routine looks like for you. So a little vibe check before we dive in. This episode is for every bride, every maid of honor, every wedding guest, really every person who wants to dial in her own health routine. We're going to start off talking about body composition and recomposition, but we'll touch on a lot of different subjects that brides care about as a way to narrow the focus on wedding prep, wedding season, and all the excitement that comes with a proposal, an engagement, and wedding planning. But these concepts are not just for brides, they're for everyone. A wedding date is one of the best motivators in existence, so why not use it? However, we're not doing crash anything. We're not crash dieting. We're not crash exercising. We're not starving ourselves in order to create the body composition or changes that we want to see. This is sustainable changes that can be done for a lengthened period of time to help you feel the best on your wedding day if you're a bride, or just the best at a date in the future, even if you're not a bride. Crash approaches have a way of wreaking havoc on your hormonal system, your ability to maintain or grow muscle or lose fat or improve your bone mineral density or sleep, your energy levels. There are so many negatives to crash anything that my goal is to really talk about and educate on the science-backed way to create these sustainable changes that a lot of brides want for their wedding day and produce results that can stick long after the honeymoon. You can think of this as your wedding prep glow up series, but science-backed and research-backed. So let's start with body composition and body recomposition more specifically, what it actually means and why we want it. Everyone says they want to tone up before their wedding, but what does that actually mean? And what are the biological processes that go into that toned look that a lot of brides want? So body recomposition is losing fat and building or maintaining muscle simultaneously. That toned look that everyone wants is not this new type of muscle creation. It is the subsequent building or maintenance of muscle with the decreasing of fat. And real body recomposition happens over months, not days or weeks. The slower approach produces changes that are actually structural, meaning they will last. The fast approach produces water loss, muscle loss, hormonal chaos, and a body that's fighting you by the time your wedding day arrives. So, the two of the most important pillars for body recomposition are your fitness and exercise and your fueling. We'll dive into exercise today since that's my expertise and something I feel very confident chatting on, but we will also talk about fueling and the nutrition side of the equation with experts who know. The key takeaway, we want to align your goals and your vision for your body and your wedding day with a sustainable approach that's not creating this fight or flight response from your body. That way you can actually feel and look your best on your wedding day and have those habits stay and be maintained even on your first anniversary. So back in the fall of 2025, we chatted the exercise handbag, which is a fun term and a fun metaphor that I came up with to describe the essentials that every girl needs in her exercise routine or exercise handbag. We talk about everything that girls need in their exercise routines, both for their goals now, currently, but also their longevity goals in the future. So forget the Bridal Arms series. Here's what I'd actually focus on when it comes to your exercise routine and fine-tuning your exercise routine to help reach your body recomposition goals now, but also set you up for success long-term in the future. Number one is strength training. This is a non-negotiable in your science-backed body recomposition wedding prep glow up. If you haven't previously strength trained, a wedding is the perfect reason to start to try and dial in that routine. A lot of girls want their arms to look amazing on their wedding day, or their legs, or their booty, or just feel good in their bodies and feel confident. And that is wonderful. So the wedding's a nice reason, a nice motivator to create these changes in your routine now to where you have typically quite a few months in between proposal and wedding day to really enact these habit changes and these new routines in your life to make it more of a lifestyle change after your wedding, not just for the wedding. So strength training is what actually creates the body composition goals that you want to see on your wedding day. As a simple rule of thumb, what does strength training look like? And the whole goal of the exercise handbag is to show that even if you like Pilates, even if you like bar, even if you like running, there are still ways to get in your strength training, no matter the form of exercise that you actually enjoy. I feel like strength training can create this image in people's heads of going to the gym, lifting heavy weights, lifting barbells, really, which is true. All of those things constitute strength training and resistance training. But there's still a way to lift those weights in that form of movement that is not strength training. Just like there's ways that you can do Pilates and bar without actually creating enough stimulus for muscle growth. So we want to make sure that you are able to incorporate the principles of strength training, no matter the style of exercise handbag or the style of exercise that you enjoy. So how do we do that? Some of the big pillars of strength training and creating muscle changes within your body is you want to hit every major muscle group at least twice a week. That means upper body, lower body, core. You can group them regionally to keep it simple, but we want to hit every major muscle group twice a week. That can be an upper body day, a lower body day. That can be 2 full body days. For me, that typically looks like an upper body day, a lower body day, and then a full body day. I like to add in 3 or 4 days of strength training for my own goals. But if you're new to strength training and you're looking to just build a routine for feeling your best on your wedding day, the guidelines say 2 times a week hitting every major muscle group. One of the other pillars of strength training is you need to be reaching muscular fatigue. And that's different from neuromuscular fatigue or nervous system fatigue, where you might in a bar class or a Pilates class hold that position for a while or do those little pulses. And that can create neuromuscular fatigue, but it might not actually indicate true muscular fatigue. So the reason we want true muscular fatigue is so the body is cued for that subsequent rebuilding after that exercise session. If we reach the fatigue point, we're really telling our bodies, hey, I can't currently handle this weight that I'm lifting or the amount of repetitions that I'm lifting this weight. Next time, we need to build reinforcements so that I'm able to lift this weight again and again. So it's this cue for your body to build more muscle mass. So we all have different points of muscular fatigue. For someone who's just starting out with exercise, body weight might be enough resistance. For someone who has strength trained for years, we'll need to lift heavier weight and add external resistance in order to achieve that muscular fatigue point, or add more repetitions in order to achieve that muscular fatigue point. So the way you know you've hit that fatigue point is if your form breaks down. I don't want to see any form breakdown. So if you're doing a lunge and all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, my knee is going in, my hips shifting, I'm having to really use my back to pull the weight up, it might indicate that you've already hit that fatigue point. Another way you know you've hit that fatigue point is you physically can't lift the weight anymore. You also might start slowing the tempo down. That's a sign that you're getting close to that muscular fatigue. So if you're able to keep these pillars in mind, no matter the form of exercise that you're doing, you'll be able to implement some of those strength training principles to receive the benefits of strength training in your exercise routine, your exercise handbag, no matter the style of exercise that you enjoy. So a little love note to my group fitness girlies. I love a group fitness class. I love a heated sculpt class, but a lot of the times I am not hitting true muscular fatigue. I'm hitting neuromuscular fatigue in those classes, which there's a time and a place for that. And if you enjoy those exercise classes, great. But if you are so consistent with those classes and still looking to get the benefits and reach the pillars of strength training in that class, you might have to modify the weights that you're using, the repetitions that you're using, the depth that you're going in certain exercises in order to accomplish the goals of strength training and create that stimulus for muscle growth. Pulses and low weight, high repetition exercises are great for mind muscle connection, time under tension, neuromuscular control, but they're not the most effective and might not create the stimulus needed for true muscular growth and true body recomposition changes or getting that sort of toned look. If the last 2 reps of your set are not genuinely hard, where you are having trouble lifting the weight or rising and lowering to the depths required, you're not truly reaching muscular fatigue. If it's a pulse and you're not able to pulse anymore or hold that position any longer in an isometric or static hold, that's more related to neuromuscular fatigue, not true muscular fatigue. So there is a difference. This is not criticizing group fitness classes or those modalities. Again, I love doing those classes and there's a time and a place for them, but it's just physiology. We need to have enough of a stimulus to create the muscle changes that we want. And sometimes those group fitness classes don't reach that. Some of them do. And I really try and search out those classes and search out those instructors that know those pillars of strength training and align with my goals. So I try and search those out, but I just want to make you guys more aware consumers of these classes. That way, you know what you're getting when you go into one of these classes and you know how to modify it in the best way for your current goals. The next essential in your exercise handbag is jump training. Jump training is amazing both for now and in the future. And I call it bone building on steroids. It is one of the best ways to create bone mineral density changes. And I know a lot of girls in their wedding prep era are not thinking about their bone mineral density, but it is one of the reasons that we need to make sure we're fueling appropriately, because we do not want bone breakdown because of underfueling. We don't want any sort of hormonal changes or load changes or building block changes to occur because we're underfueling, especially when it comes to our bone mineral density as women. And jump training is one of the ways that we can actually positively affect our bones and incorporate it super easily into our exercise routines. So not only does it help our bone mineral density, it helps our cardiovascular health, it builds power, it works on some of those different muscle fiber types that allow us to do these explosive movements. So very beneficial for all of our exercise routines in this wedding prep glow up era, but also for life. So if you want to add it to your routine, You can do something as simple as 10 or 12 jump squats or split lunges or jump rope at the beginning or end of whatever your exercise routine is. Think of jump training as the secret weapon that makes your exercise routine that much more effective. The next science-backed fitness, wedding, glow-up era essential is high-intensity interval training and sprint interval training, especially for women. When it comes to body composition, I mentioned two pillars: muscle building and fat loss. Both of those are related to our metabolism, and high-intensity interval training and sprint interval training are two of the powerhouses that positively affect our metabolisms. So here's what the research tells us about sprint training and high-intensity interval training, specifically for women. Both high-intensity interval training and sprint interval training produce significant visceral fat reduction in women. Intensity is that key driver of fat loss, not volume, meaning a 20-minute high-intensity interval training session can have more positive benefits on fat loss compared to an hour of moderate cardio. So not only is it less time, but it's more efficient and produces longer-term results or biological changes that are happening within your body that are working long after that 20-minute session of sprinting or high-intensity interval training. High-intensity interval training combined with resistance training produces better muscle retention, muscle maintenance, and growth alongside fat loss than either modality alone, than either high-intensity interval training alone or strength training alone. So the combo is really the key. So here's a practical wedding prep season protocol. I like to sprinkle in 2 to 3 sessions of sprint training or HIIT training each week. Sometimes I'll combine it on one of my upper body days, knowing I've hit the upper body, sprinting, high intensity interval training. Oftentimes I have to use my lower body to get my heart rate up enough. You want your heart rate at about 80 to 90% of your heart rate max. And your heart rate max is estimated 220 minus your age. That's the easy formula to use. 220 minus your age, and then take a percentage of that. Try and get your heart rate up to that number during those working sets, followed by resting sets. And these can be a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio, meaning 1 minute on, 1 minute off. It can be 20 seconds on, 1 minute off. You want to give yourself a time for all out effort, followed by rest and recovery. And that can be a jog, that can be a walk, whatever that recovery looks like for you, as long as you're able to hit those percentages of your heart rate max, that 80 to 90% of your heart rate max during those working sets. As a little caveat, if it's close to your wedding, you're in a high stress state, this is where I'd be a little careful layering on high intensity interval training and sprint interval training. We just did an episode on The Devil Wears Prada and cortisol, so I encourage you to take a look at that episode. It's episode 99, but we look at the reason cortisol gets a bad reputation and how to implement activities that have been promoted as cortisol raising and bad for you activities like sprinting and high intensity interval training in a safe way, even when you're in a stressed state. So if you are too stressed and you're implementing some of these high intensity interval training and sprint interval training workouts and noticing your body just fighting you back, this might be a variable to take out of it in a high stress state. However, it's not saying that we don't need it or they're not beneficial. It's just saying that your body might be having difficulty coming down from that super high intensity state because of stress and layering on something else that's higher intensity that creates some of those cardiovascular, muscular, and neurological changes that come with high stress, even if it's good stress like exercise, might not be as beneficial in a super high stress season like closer to your wedding, which is why this episode is talking about not crash dieting, crash exercising, or anything, because implementing high intensity interval training and sprint interval training at the right time is super beneficial. But if you wait till the very end, when you're already stressed and already wanting some of these metabolic changes and worried about how you're going to possibly look and feel in your body on your wedding day, that's not the time to be adding in all of those things all at once. We want to be able to have this nice experimentation phase and allow our body to adapt to possibly some of these new stimuli that we are placing on it in the form of exercise. So the last handbag essential that we all need in our science-backed wedding prep or just science-backed prep is recovery. This is the exercise handbag essential that's making all of the other handbag essentials more effective. Exercise is a stimulus. Recovery is where the magic happens. Muscle is built, fat is mobilized, and adaptations are made when you rest. So in your wedding prep era, you do not need to exercise every single day. You need to have recovery built in. 4 to 5 quality workout and exercise days with 2 to 3 genuine rest or active recovery days is that sweet spot. Active recovery can mean easy walks or a light jog if that is your fitness state, gentle stretching, yoga, something that feels good for the body. You can also take it as a complete rest day. Both are considered recovery. Sleep is also the most underrated recovery tool. So making sure throughout all of this, really trying to dial in that sleep hygiene so that the body can create all of the processes that exercise is stimulating and work on rebuilding, getting fuel for energy for all of the things that we're doing in exercise. That's where sleep and recovery really come into play and why they're essential to have in your science-backed wedding prep. So this next one's not necessarily essential, but it's a bonus tool for you to utilize during your wedding prep season to know if what you're doing in your exercise routine is actually translating to the body composition changes that you want to see. And that tool is a DEXA scan. We talked about it on the pod a few weeks back, but if you're a data girl and like to actually see changes that are happening within your body, the DEXA scan is the gold standard when it comes to assessing body composition. It'll tell you fat mass, it'll tell you lean mass, it'll tell you bone mineral content, it'll break it down region by region to say, okay, you're growing muscle mass in your upper body, you're losing fat in your lower body. It can tell you that breakdown and give you a really clear picture on how your body is responding to the exercise routine and the stimulus of exercise that you're adjusting during this season. I'd recommend getting your baseline scan soon after your proposal if this is something you want to do. Again, this is just bonus. You do not have to do this. But if you're a data girl like me, sometimes it's helpful to have those points. So I'd recommend getting it maybe a few weeks after your proposal. Get that baseline, especially if you're going to try and adjust certain things to reach certain body recomposition goals that you have. Then maybe schedule one for 6 to 7 months later, check in. If things still aren't progressing, that's when you're able to tweak before your wedding. Assuming like a year-long engagement or 10-month engagement, you're able to have these data points to allow for better and more purposeful experimentation and sort of fine-tuning of your exercise and fitness routine in this wedding prep season. A DEXA scan just takes the guessing out. Am I building muscle? Am I losing fat? It takes the guessing game out of it. Let's go get it checked and analyzed and actually see if the changes that you're implementing are creating the results you want to see. So we can't necessarily talk fitness without also talking fueling. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm not the expert in this. We will have experts on who are able to chat about this. But when it comes to fueling and exercise, the main points that I've learned from the dietitians we've had on this podcast is that we need enough protein and we need enough fuel. A lot of girls are under fueling, which goes back into that crash dieting culture, which we do not want to promote in this wedding prep glow up era. We want to promote sustainable changes. And what I've learned from a lot of these dietitians is for these body recomposition changes to happen, we want to make sure we're getting enough protein and that we're eating enough calories. We can't expect our bodies to be able to build or maintain muscle without the appropriate building blocks and fuel, which is where protein and caloric intake and energy, getting energy for our bodies comes into play. The other thing I learned is the importance of creatine, not only for our just overall physical state, even without exercise, but especially for exercise. It gives our cells the energy needed for exercise to make exercise that much more effective. So creatine is another super important pillar when it comes to body recomposition and making exercise that much more efficient for our female bodies. Creatine supports our muscle building capacity, our exercise performance, our power output. And we learned from Dr. Katie, now almost a year and a half ago, that there is a certain creatine loading protocol that can actually help our luteal phase and some of these symptoms in our luteal phase. So adding creatine and looking into different loading protocols might also not only help us in our exercise performance, but also help us in the symptoms that we might feel if our wedding day happens to be scheduled in our luteal phase. Where creatine might be a nice tool to have to help us feel a little less puffy, a little less swollen, and a little bit more confident in our bodies on that day. So Dr. Katie's protocol that she mentioned was 5 grams of creatine 4 times a day for 5 days. And that helps to really bring water in intracellularly compared to extracellularly. So it hydrates the cells a little bit more, but it also helps to decrease that overall puffiness we feel. It can also help with our power output, especially during exercise in that phase when we might feel a little blah in general. So starting creatine and getting our bodies used to creatine, and then also looking to experiment with different loading protocols of creatine where we're actually maybe taking more creatine during certain phases of our cycle might help us with our exercise routine, but then also with how we feel within our bodies. And I've been doing this since she mentioned it a year and a half ago. And I will say it has helped both my exercise performance and power output in that phase, just subjectively, just in how I feel in my body. And I have also noticed feeling less puffy in my luteal phase when I do creatine load. This is the kind of female specific cycle aware supplementation that the research is finally starting to support. And it is the perfect addition to a wedding prep protocol because it tackles 2 things, not only our ability for body recomposition, but also our ability to feel the best in our bodies on that wedding day, even if you're in a phase of your cycle that might not promote feeling the absolute best in your body. Next week, we are continuing this wedding prep season. And I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning, but my sister is getting married in June, which really inspired this whole series. So as a little note to my sister, I love you. I'm very excited for your wedding come mid-June. And thank you for inspiring this series. She did ask me, she goes, where was this series a year ago? And I'm sorry that my creative juices weren't flowing in this way, but I hope all of you girls who are in this season or looking towards a wedding as something to really dial in, feeling the best in your body, I hope this series really helps. We'll continue to chat about different categories over the next few weeks, but I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys learned a lot, and I hope you can consider this your permission to use a major life moment as this huge motivator to create science-backed changes in your routine to help you feel the absolute best you can in your body. So I'll see you guys in the next episode of Wellness Fixes the Pod.